There are certain people you must stay away from, not because they're bad, but because every time they reach for you, they take a little more of you away. 6 kinds of people exist in this world who will do precisely this, and recognizing them is not cruelty, it is clarity. Most of us have been taught that kindness means endless availability, that love is measured by how much we sacrifice, that to turn away from someone's need is to fail at being human. And so we give and give, mistaking the depletion of ourselves for virtue, confusing the dimming of our own light with compassion. But watch what happens. Watch how your peace becomes their property, how your silence fills with their chaos, how you begin to feel like a well that never refills, a mirror reflecting only their emptiness back at them. You tell yourself you're helping. You tell yourself it matters. But underneath, something in you knows the truth. You are not connecting with these people. You're being consumed by them. The first kind asks for your time but never respects it. They arrive late, they cancel without warning, they take hours of your day and treat them like loose change. When you speak, they glance at their phone. When you need them, suddenly they're busy. Time, to them, is only real when it serves their purposes. Your time is simply space they fill with themselves. And you feel it, don't you? That subtle erosion. The way your own life starts to feel like an interruption to their drama. They will promise to change, to be better, to value what you give, but they won't, because they don't see time as sacred. They see it as theirs to spend. The second kind asks for your energy but gives only noise and chaos. Every conversation is a storm. Every interaction leaves you drained. They thrive on crisis, on urgency, on emotional turbulence that never quite resolves. They call you when they're spiraling, and for a moment you believe your presence helps. But notice how the spiral never ends. Notice how the problems multiply, how the emergencies repeat. They are not seeking peace. They are seeking someone to join them in the chaos, someone whose calm they can borrow and never return. You walk away from them feeling heavier, as though you've been dipped in something thick and dark. That is not connection. That is depletion. The third kind asks for your loyalty while betraying their own words. They speak of trust, of bond, of standing together. And then, quietly, they undermine you. They gossip about you to others while smiling to your face. They take credit for your ideas. They vanish when you need them, but expect you to be their foundation. Loyalty, to them, is a one-way street. They expect it from you because it benefits them. But they offer none in return because their ego recognizes no obligation. You begin to notice the pattern, how their stories shift, how their promises evaporate, how their version of the truth always places them at the center, blameless and justified. These are people who ask you to hold them accountable to nothing while demanding you remain accountable to everything. The fourth kind asks for your forgiveness yet never change. They hurt you, apologize, and hurt you again. The words are always sincere, the tears are real, but the behavior, it remains. Forgiveness, to them, is not about transformation. It is about resetting the game so they can play it again. You forgive because you want to believe people can grow, and they can. But not everyone chooses to. Some people use your forgiveness as permission to stay exactly as they are. They mistake your compassion for weakness, your patience for blindness, and so the cycle continues. The same wound opened again and again while you are asked to pretend it's the first time. The fifth kind asks for your validation because they cannot face their emptiness. They need constant reassurance, constant praise, constant confirmation that they matter, that they are enough, that they are seen. And no amount is ever sufficient. You offer support and it evaporates within hours. You affirm them, and by the next day they are back, asking again. This is not insecurity. This is a hunger that cannot be filled from the outside. They are asking you to be the mirror that reflects the self they refuse to meet, and you cannot do it. No one can, because the validation they seek can only come from within, from the terrifying, necessary work of facing who they actually are. Your love, your attention, your endless encouragement, it is being poured into a vessel with no bottom. The sixth kind asks for your pain, turning your empathy into fuel for their destruction. These are the most dangerous because they disguise themselves as victims. They present their suffering, and you, being kind, step forward to help. But watch closely. Watch how they reject every solution, how they twist every kindness into proof of how broken they are. They do not want to heal. They want you to hurt with them. They want you to validate their belief that life is hopeless, that love is a lie, that nothing will ever change. Your empathy becomes the oxygen for their self-destruction. And if you stay too long, they will drag you into the same darkness, not because they are cruel, but because misery is the only language they trust. These 6 kinds of people share something fundamental. They all operate from the illusion of the separate ego. They believe they are isolated beings, locked inside their skin, desperately clawing for something outside themselves to make them whole. And in that desperation, they reach for you, not to connect, but to possess. Not to love, but to consume. The ego is a hungry ghost. It demands endlessly, because it knows deep down that it does not exist in the way it pretends to. It is a construct, a story we tell ourselves about who we are. And when that story feels fragile, the ego seeks validation from others. It needs your time to feel important, your energy to feel alive, your loyalty to feel secure, your forgiveness to feel blameless, your validation to feel real, your pain to feel less alone. But here is what the ego does not understand. Connection is not possession. Love is not clinging. To truly meet another person, you must come as you are, not as you need them to see you. And you must allow them the same freedom. But these 6 kinds of people cannot do that. They cannot meet you openly because they are too busy trying to extract something from you. Think of water. It flows freely, nourishing everything it touches. But if you try to hold it too tightly, it slips away. These people try to dam the river, to control the flow, to hoard what should be shared. And in doing so, they create stagnation. What was once alive becomes stale, trapped, lifeless. Think of a mirror. When you stand before a mirror, it reflects you as you are. But if the mirror is warped, if it has been shaped by fear and need, it reflects only distortion. These people hold up a warped mirror and ask you to confirm that the distortion is real. They ask you to see them as they wish to be seen, not as they are. And when you cannot perform that magic for them, they accuse you of failing them. Think of a flame. A healthy fire warms, illuminates, transforms. But there are flames that consume everything around them, wood, air, even themselves. They burn not to give light, but because they cannot stop burning. These people are that kind of flame. They will take your peace, your clarity, your energy, and turn it all to ash. Not because they intend harm, but because they have forgotten how to exist without consuming. You must understand something crucial here. This is not about judgment. These 6 kinds of people are not villains. They are not evil. They are suffering. They are trapped in the hallucination of separateness, in the belief that they can only survive by taking from others. And your compassion for that suffering is valid. It is beautiful, even. But compassion without boundaries is not love. It is self-betrayal. You cannot save someone by drowning with them. You cannot heal someone by absorbing their wounds into yourself. You cannot teach someone to stand by carrying them forever. And yet, so many of us try. We believe that if we just give a little more, stay a little longer, endure a little further, then finally they will change. Finally they will see. Finally they will reciprocate the care we have poured into them. But it does not work that way, because you cannot give someone something they refuse to find within themselves. You cannot force someone to face their emptiness. You cannot make someone choose growth over comfort. And when you try, when you sacrifice your peace for their refusal, you are not helping them. You are enabling them to stay exactly as they are. There is a difference between detachment and withdrawal. Withdrawal is closing your heart, building walls, refusing to feel. Detachment is remaining open while recognizing what is yours to carry and what is not. It is loving someone while understanding that their suffering is not your responsibility to fix. It is offering presence without losing yourself in their chaos. To be detached does not mean you stop caring. It means you stop letting their refusal to heal become your burden. It means you recognize that every person must walk their own path, and you cannot walk it for them, no matter how much you love them. When you stay in relationship with these 6 kinds of people, you are not practicing love. You are practicing self-abandonment. You are teaching yourself that your needs do not matter, that your boundaries are negotiable, that your peace is less important than their comfort. And slowly, so slowly you might not notice, you begin to disappear. You begin to feel like a ghost in your own life, present only to serve others, never quite real enough to deserve care in return. Distance, then, becomes an act of love, not just for them, but for yourself. It is the recognition that you are not infinite, that your energy, your time, your heart, they are precious, finite, sacred, and you have the right, the obligation even, to protect them. Some people will call this selfish. They will say you are abandoning those who need you. They will accuse you of being cold, heartless, unkind. But listen carefully to who says these things. Often, it is the very people who have been taking from you, because they have built their stability on your instability, their peace on your chaos. And when you step back, when you reclaim yourself, their world trembles, not because you have done something wrong, but because they have never learned to stand on their own. Let them tremble, let them fall, if they must. That is not cruelty. That is the natural consequence of their refusal to grow. And it is only through consequence that growth becomes possible. You are not responsible for saving everyone. You are not obligated to set yourself on fire to keep others warm. You are here to live your life fully and authentically, in connection with those who can meet you with the same openness and freedom. To love deeply is to let others be, to see them clearly without trying to change them, to offer presence without attachment, care without control, and sometimes that love looks like distance. Sometimes peace begins the moment you stop trying to save them. The river does not struggle to flow around the rocks. It simply moves gracefully, naturally, toward the ocean. You, too, can move through life this way, not hardening against others, but not sacrificing yourself for their refusal either, flowing freely, nourishing what can receive you, releasing what cannot. And in that release, in that spaciousness, you will find something you may have forgotten yourself. Whole, present, alive. Not because you turned away from love, but because you finally understood what love actually is. But the fear remains, doesn't it? The fear that if you create distance, you become like them, cold, selfish, uncaring. The fear that setting boundaries means you have failed at love. This fear is perhaps the deepest trap of all, because it uses your own goodness against you. It whispers that a truly loving person would endure anything, tolerate everything, sacrifice endlessly. This is a lie the ego tells to keep you imprisoned. Real love, the kind that nourishes rather than depletes, requires something most people misunderstand. It requires the ability to say no, to disappoint, to allow others to feel the consequences of their choices without rushing in to cushion every fall. This feels impossible to those of us raised to believe that love means perpetual yes, perpetual availability, perpetual self-erasure. But consider the parent who never allows their child to fail. The child grows dependent, fragile, unable to navigate the world. The parent believes they are protecting through love, but they are actually crippling through fear. The same principle applies to adult relationships. When you refuse to let people experience the natural results of their behavior, when you constantly absorb the impact that should teach them, you are not helping them grow. You are helping them stay stuck. There is a particular violence in this kind of helping, a violence so subtle it masquerades as virtue. You are essentially saying to the other person, I do not trust you to handle your own life. I do not believe you are capable of change. I must control the consequences for you. And beneath that, even deeper, is a more uncomfortable truth. I need to be needed. I need to be the savior. Because if I'm not rescuing you, then who am I? This is where the illusion becomes complete. You believe you are giving to them, but you are actually taking from yourself to feed your own identity as the good one, the patient one, the one who never gives up. Your self-worth has become entangled with their dysfunction, and so you cannot let them heal, not really, because their healing would mean the end of your role. Watch this pattern in yourself, with gentleness, not judgment. Notice when you feel a strange satisfaction in being the one who understands them when no one else does. Notice when you feel a quiet pride in enduring what others could not. Notice when their improvement makes you feel slightly anxious, as though you might become unnecessary. These are not signs that you are a bad person. They are signs that you have confused love with a role you play. The paradox is this: the moment you release your grip, the moment you step back and allow people to stand or fall on their own, you give them the only gift that might actually help them. You give them reality. You give them consequence. You give them the cold, sharp edge of truth that their behavior costs something real. Some will rise to meet that truth. They will feel the loss of your presence and finally do the work they have been avoiding. They will recognize, perhaps for the first time, that their patterns have pushed away something valuable. And if that happens, if they genuinely change, then perhaps one day you can reconnect from a new place, a healthier place, where both of you are whole, rather than one forever holding up the other. But many will not rise. They will find someone else to drain. They will tell stories about how you betrayed them, abandoned them, proved that love is conditional and people cannot be trusted. They will cast themselves as victims of your cruelty, and you must let them. You must allow them their narrative, their pain, their interpretation, because you cannot control how they see you. You can only control whether you continue to participate in their illusion. This is where real strength lives, not in enduring what destroys you, but in walking away from what destroys you. Not in proving your love through suffering, but in honoring your life enough to protect it. The world will not applaud this choice. The people around you may not understand. Even you might question yourself in the quiet hours, wondering if you should have tried harder, stayed longer, given more. But deep down, in the part of you that knows truth without needing to explain it, you will feel something you may not have felt in years. Relief, space, the return of your own energy, no longer leaking out into the bottomless need of others. The quiet joy of a morning that belongs to you, not to someone else's crisis. The rediscovery of your own thoughts, your own dreams, your own life that was waiting patiently for you to come back to it. This is not the end of love. This is love finally becoming real. Because love that costs you everything is not love at all. It is martyrdom. It is performance. It is fear dressed up as virtue. Real love is mutual. It flows both ways. It asks, "Are you okay?" and actually waits to hear the answer. It gives freely but does not deplete. It challenges you to grow without diminishing who you already are. You will know you have found this kind of love when you feel more yourself in someone's presence, not less. When you leave an interaction energized rather than drained. When your boundaries are met with respect rather than manipulation. When your needs are considered as important as theirs. When there is space for both of you to be human, to be flawed, to be real, without one person always playing savior and the other always playing victim. And here is the final truth, the one that changes everything when you truly understand it. You are not separate from the universe. You are not a small, isolated self that must fight to survive in a hostile world. You are the whole thing, experiencing itself from one particular angle. When you protect your peace, you are protecting the peace of the whole. When you honor your life, you are honoring all life. When you release people who drain you, you are allowing the natural flow of energy to redistribute itself in healthier patterns. The ego believes that love means holding on. The awakened heart knows that love means letting go. Not coldly, not cruelly, but with the clear understanding that everyone must walk their own path, face their own darkness, do their own work. You cannot do it for them. You can only do it for yourself. And when you do, when you finally choose yourself with the same devotion you once gave to saving others, something extraordinary happens. You become available for real connection. The kind that doesn't drain you because it's not built on need. The kind that doesn't trap you because it's not built on control. The kind that doesn't diminish you because it's not built on one person being small so another can feel big. You become free. And in that freedom you discover that you can love more deeply than you ever did when you were busy drowning. It is not clinging. It is not sacrifice. It is not losing yourself to prove your worth. It is presence. It is freedom. It is the courage to be fully who you are and to allow others the same. And if they cannot meet you there, then the kindest thing you can do for them and for yourself is to let them go. To love deeply is to let others be. And sometimes peace begins the moment you stop trying to save them.